world. Speaking of the worst we've seen, let's move over to Britain now. Liz Truss is gone. And Boris, who's the last Prime Minister to be duly elected by the British people, has ruled out throwing his hat in the ring to take back 10 Downing Street. What happened to the will of the people in Britain, James?
Forget the will of the people. How about the will of the Tory party, who did not want Sunak? And so, Conrad Black just wrote an article, the former proprietor of the Telegraph. He's Canadian, British, American sort of. And he said the sick democracies in the Western world right now are the US, Britain, and Canada. And it's partly the sickness is playing out on the right side of politics. The political class is not representing their voters. We're seeing that. Now, in the US, it's being fixed a bit because their system allows freelance Republicans to run against the establishment and win. And all of those establishment sort of types were losing to Trump sort of endorsed Senate types. So there's an avenue in the US. In Britain, it's only in 2019 they ran on a low tax, stop immigration. Well, the immigration's never been worse. Illegal immigration under Boris and the Tories have never been worse. And it's never been higher. And it was supposed to be low tax. It's the highest taxing, highest spending government. It's exactly like Morrison and Frydenberg. How can the coalition...
Well, speaking of Australia then, how did Australia escape, not make the cut for Conrad Black's list? I mean, we're almost as bad democratically.
I think he just forgot. We're not in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Look what the problem for Mr. Dutton.
Yes.
How do you criticize Labor on any front when you ran the biggest taxing, biggest spending government, since the war? Don't tell me Frydenberg was a good treasurer. And the excuse is, we had to do it because of the pandemic. No, that is a complete lie. You shouldn't let people get away with that. We handled the pandemic horribly. Leave aside the brutal inroads on our rights and freedoms. Had we gone down the Swedish road, we would have fewer excess deaths. So if you look at the baseline expected number of deaths, we are doing worse than Sweden. It's partly because of the way we've categorized COVID deaths. And it's partly because the brutal lockdowns have led to all sorts of people dying, not from COVID. And, they're much younger people.
Well, that's right.
I get infuriated about the way we handled COVID. It was so illiberal, and we sacrificed a whole generation of young people. We sold them down the river so that well-off civil servants who have nice big houses could stay at home and work on their computers. Small businesses sold down the river. And,
well, James,
I don't know how you fix that. I apologized.
Well, apologies would be a good start, but perhaps a Trump-like figure.
That's what the new premier in Alberta did.
Exactly.
The new premier in Alberta, she apologized.
That's right.
That was. Yeah. She said, we made a terrible mistake.
Yeah, imagine the popularity of a new politician who said that in Australia.
No.
James, we've run out of time. Great. We've run out of time. But thanks so much for your time, James.
Thank you, and I'll take you up on that beer.
Yes. See you soon. Good on you, James. Thank you. That's Queensland University Law Professor James Allan.